179.
Even as our last song suggests, that Jacob was on a journey, and it recalls the events of his life on that journey, and how God was with him as he rested. I saw that ladder leading to heaven, the angels ascending and descending. And it reminds us that we too are on a journey. And we need to understand that the events of our lives are seen by God and orchestrated by God. And today, the church is in a new phase of that orchestration with additional elders and deacons, which means that we'll have leadership, additional leadership. Our elders are here for a specific purpose, to lead and to guide. And we're to go to them and counsel with them when we face difficult problems. The deacons are here. They have a specific function that they are to carry out under the elders that facilitates the church's growth and health. This morning I want to remind all of us that in a true sense of the word, we're all servants of the church. The elders have a visible position set there by God, and the deacons have a visible position set there by God. But in a true sense, all of us are working together to hold Christ up to the world and the community in which we live. This morning, I want to briefly remind ourselves of the qualifications of all our elders and the deacons. I appreciate my reading this morning from Titus, chapter 1, verses 5 through 9. Paul was writing to this young gospel preacher who was also aiding him. The Apostle Paul had left, and had given him a responsibility. I've left you in Crete for this purpose, that you should set in order the things that are lacking and appoint elders in every city as I commanded you. Congregation is not truly formed until it has elders and deacons. Even though, as I grew up in Nashville many years ago, I attended the Joseph Avenue Church as a youngster, and then as a teenager, the Fifth Street Church. Neither of those congregations had elders, even though they were older congregations, and never felt that they had been qualified. And yet in every congregation, we need to realize that the qualifications are growing qualifications. They're to begin and they are to be matured. And as Paul and the other apostles went about teaching the gospel and converting people who formed the church of Christ in their area, they needed leadership when the elders were gone. So each city, and I want to underline the word city here, well, back in the 1950s, there was a group up in the northeastern part of the United States, members of the Church of Christ, who tried to say that since this said elders in every city, that there should be a eldership over every city, like New York and Los Angeles. But that's not what it means. What it means is in every congregation, in every city. And they're to carry out on the leadership and work of the church. They're chosen from the membership because they're responsible to God and the membership for their leadership. And as they grow and work with the congregation, the church is in harmony. There are special qualifications for them, even though all the qualifications, most of the qualifications fit every member of the church, but there are some special ones. He says, the elders who are among you I exhort. This is Peter speaking. I am a fellow elder and a witness of the suffering of Christ, also a partaker of the glory that will be revealed. So they're called elders, referring to age. It doesn't say old men, barely able to go. It's older men. Shepherds, you shepherd the flock of God, which is among you, serving as overseers. A shepherd, we certainly can understand the use of that word, and the 23rd Psalm illustrates the importance of the leadership of the shepherd over the flock. And overseers means that they know what's going on and they direct what's going on. Not by compulsion, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly. Not being lords over the flock. The word boss doesn't come in as far as this is concerned. We think of the word boss as someone tyrannical. For many have worked in circumstances where there was less than harmony between the boss and the workers. There is a loving relationship that exists between the men who lead us and those who follow. Lawrence mentioned this morning in his announcements, he touched on some of his qualifications. Desiring the position as an elder or a bishop. Someone must desire or be willing to assume the responsibility. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, good behavior, hospitable, able to teach, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy for money, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not contentious, one who rules his own house well, having his children in submission with all reverence. And then parenthetically, Paul writes, for if a man does not know how to rule his own house, how will he take care of the church of God? The end of parenthesis. Not a novice, lest being puffed up with pride, he falls in the same condemnation as the devil. Moreover, he must have a good testimony among those who are outside, lest he fall into reproach in the snare of the devil. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, for this reason I left you in Crete, that you appoint elders. He goes on to say, if a man is blameless, and we'll talk about that later, the husband, one wife, having faithful children, not accused of dissipation or insubordination. For bishop, another word for overseer, must be blameless. As a steward, and this is one who has authority to look after valuable things. A steward of God, not self-willed, not quick-tempered, not given to wine, nor violent, nor greedy for money, but hospitable, a lover of what is good, sober-minded, just, holy, self-control, holding fast the faithful word as he has been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and convict those who contradict. Now notice here, especially in the overall purview, that the elders are not only over the flock, but they're under the control of God. Which means they must listen to God, and they are not legislators nor law changers, but they are enforcers, in the sense that they are responsible for carrying out the doctrine given by God through Christ for us. And they are to exhort and convict. There are several terms, and briefly we'll look at them. They're called elders, from the Greek word presbyteros. An older man who is viewed by others as one whose example is worthy and whose judgment is reliable. Now that's just that in a nutshell. That's exactly, we look to our elders because of their wisdom and their ability to help. The bishop, the episcopos, is an overseer. One who is accountable to a superior Christ and responsible to manage and give administration to others. He's charged with supervising. In other words, the bishop is the one who sees the works carried out. The pastor or shepherd for men. A shepherd, one who knows the sheep personally, who cares deeply for the sheep, who is attentive to what is going on in the lives of the sheep, is among them and caring for them in their needs. I don't know why, but when I read this qualification, I thought of a family that worshipped here a long time ago in the old building. They passed on. and they had cows that took care of. And I asked the wife one time, I said, do you ever slaughter and eat any of your cows? She said, no, they're our children. And I remember that because that's the relationship of the elder to the flock. Look after and care for, but have such a relationship, nothing harmful comes in the process. There are 22 qualifications. Now those who watch the clock may say, that's going to take a long time. Don't worry about that. The clock's on the wall, but what we're looking at is what's spiritual and eternal. Many of these qualifications are required of all Christians. And by the way, tonight's sermon comes from Titus, the same chapter, the verses that follow the qualifications for elders, and it deals with Christians and how we are to be the lights in the community in which we live. So I invite you back for the continuation that Paul gave to Titus. First, these qualifications, then said that you remind all the others. You remind the older men. You remind the older women. You remind the younger men. You remind the younger women. You tell the servants this. We need that type of care and oversight in our world today. First, desire the office. There has to be a desire to want to lead, to want to see good come about, healing to take place, progress to be made, and Christ to be held up to the world. Blameless. And a lot of people get hooked up on this word blameless. What it means that a person is well respected not only in the congregation, but respected in the community. Not perfect, but able to recognize that they need, if there's something there that needs to be changed, it will be changed. In the normal affairs of being a Christian, as well as the attitude in the elder. The husband of one wife, and this refers to the fact that he should have multiple wives. That's what it refers to. And many times the question about wives is mentioned in those preachers who write articles for religious magazines. This is probably the number one question that is asked, is concerning wives. That they be temperate. That means vigilant. Sober-minded, circumspect, that is looking at all areas of the life, to control as they deal with people. To be sober-minded, that means moderate in opinions and passion. He's not a person who's excessive, of good behavior, that is well-organized, orderly. Hospitable, that is willing to have guests, literally a friend of strangers, given hospitality. An elder is an individual who doesn't mean a stranger. He's a person who is there for everyone. Able to teach. Many years ago, I was holding a meeting where I used to preach. It was the fourth or fifth meeting I've held there. And one of the men came up to me and he said, I'd like to be an elder, but I can't get up in the pulpit and talk. I said, well, that doesn't disqualify you. Because able to teach, there are many areas and ways to teach. When a person comes up to a person and puts his hand on the shoulder and says, I'd like to say to you something, or I want to ask you something, I want to encourage you. That's a teaching situation. And so, and we've had elders, and some of the better elders I've seen over the years are those who would never stand in a pulpit and preach a sermon, but they are effective in their teaching privately. And that's very, very important. Not given to wine. In the culture of that day, wine was drunk as a part of the meal. It was not strong. In other words, it should not let wine control a person. Not violent, no striker. Not a person that you hit me, I'll hit you back. I'll get even with you. No. The Christian leader, the Christian shepherd, is caring about the sheep, not about his own feelings. Not greedy for filthy lucre or money. Money is important. It's our means of carrying on business. But it should not be a motivator for more. Money is to be used to serve God. Be gentle, be patient. The word gentle means moderate, not excessive, not extreme, but being able to see things through. Not quarrelsome, no brawler, not out for a fight, really seeking peace. Not covetous, again, not greedy for money, similar to the previous requirement. Not greedy for money. Not thinking of what I can do if I had a lot of money. Just do with what you've got. Rules well his own house. And this, of course, has been in our minds and in your heart. To maintain or be over or rule well his own dwelling, his own family, his own home and house. Since he's over God's family, real test is how he manages and guides his own house. Not a novice, that he's not a new convert, or he wouldn't have the background necessary to deal with the church. Having his children in submission with reverence or gravity. And these are combining all of those that were read earlier. Discipline of children is a good index to his ability to guide others. Both harsh discipline and no discipline makes rebels. Firm but gentle discipline is more effective. Then having a good testimony among those outside, a good report of them without. A good, valuable report or testimony from without. The outside world often knows things hidden from the church, so the elder should be respected in the community. And how important that is. For after all, Christians are lights in the world, and as the leader of those who have lights, the elder's light needs to shine and be recognized as a good force in the community. A steward of God, an overseer, one who's able to see needs and see that they are carried out by those who that they give the need, the carrying out of that need. Not self-willed, not stubborn or arrogant. In other words, they're not to be lords over the flock. They're to be the shepherds. Not quick-tempered, not soon angry. Words refer to anger will not soon die. An elder should not be one who nurses his anger. He must be just or holy. That means devout, pious, has a reverence for God, His Word, and things. He respects the words and things that are holy. Then they are to be defenders of the faith. And here probably is one of the more important ones in our generation. It's been true in every generation, for the church has changed and gotten away from the pattern. And God has given a pattern for the church. And it must be held up as to the world and must not be compromised in doctrine or carrying out the commands of God. Paul's letter to Titus says the elders must know the word and be well equipped to deal with anyone who will attack the church. Both Paul and Peter called them elders, even though they did not know all. They were still poised to do some growing. 1 Peter 5 says that, tells elders to exercise control without being dictatorial, not lords over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. Their task is to facilitate sound, healthy conditions in the church in doctrine and purity. They must guard the church against false teaching. And sometimes this goes on individually and quietly behind the scenes. And then as we come near the end of the lesson this morning, we think about deacons. Likewise, deacons. In other words, the qualifications for elders, many of them are the qualifications for deacons. They must be reverent, that is, respect things that belong to God. Not double-tongued, that is, saying one thing to one person, something opposite to another person, so there's confusion. Not given to much wine, that is, again referring to the fact that you can't be held by a drink or something of that nature. Not greedy for money. Again, repeating what all Christians, these also refer to Christians. No Christians to be given to much wine, and no Christian should not be greedy. Holding the mystery of the faith with a pure conscience. And this is very important. The mystery of the faith refers to the gospel. How God combined the Jews and the Gentiles in one family, making one man. One man meaning a child of God. And that they do this with complete faith. But let these also first be tested. And that means that they've had responsibility and they've carried out their responsibility. And as we think of this, husband and one wife ruling well their children and their own houses well. For those who have served well as deacons obtain for themselves a good standing and great boldness in the faith which is in Christ Jesus. Let's remember that in the church, the first deacons were appointed to distribute food to neglected widows. In fact, the word deacon refers to those men that selected the women. There were the Jews had come there for Pentecost and had been converted, and now they didn't want to go home. They wanted to grow. So they had to get money and then feed the displaced people as they were at that time before they finally went home. Some were not being fed. One group of women that were Greek in background, they were Jewish by birth, but Greek in background from where they lived. And there were others from other places, and there were those passing out the food to the people there were favoring one group over another. And that was causing division. So they were said, now we're the elders, and we've got to deal with the growth of the church and spiritual matters. We need someone else to carry out this physical work, being sure that there's unity and harmony and fairness in the distribution of the food. So they selected these men in order that they might carry out the spiritual atmosphere. These had to carry out the physical atmosphere and keep the church together and loving one another. So they chose Stephen, a man full of faith in the Holy Spirit, then Philip, then Prochorus, Canor, Timon, Parmenas, and Nicholas, a proselyte from Antioch, whom they set before the apostles. When they had prayed, they laid hands on them. See, this was to bring loyalty and harmony to the church, so there would not be division. You know, in a family, they're made up of individuals, and each individual is individual. There must therefore work together to have love. And if you see something that needs to be done that can cause the church to be divided, then it needs to be taken care of. And in this instance, the physical matters were cared for by these deacons. The church is God's family. Family's needs are both of a spiritual as well as a physical nature, which must be taken care of. In the church, God's family, elders have been appointed to care for the spiritual needs and administration of the family, while deacons are to look after the other needs as they serve under the leadership and command of the elders. And I want to stop at this point and commend our elders in selection of additional elders and deacons, and the ones selected, congratulate them in receiving a responsibility that is very, very important to them and to the church. We need to support them. We need to let them know in a friendly way, I got some new bosses. And but the important thing is that I'm a servant of the church just like everybody else. And that we're all working together in a harmonious love. And its steps should cause the church to grow, to go forward. For men are now looking at themselves saying, I have an additional responsibility, and I would accept it and carry it out faithfully. And of course, they'll be accountable to God for that choice, and we will too. As we come to the end of our lesson, I want us to think about the fact that all of us are members of the family of God and we're working together in harmony. There may be some visiting us today who have never yet realized the importance of being a Christian. God made this world. He had a purpose. He put man here, made in his image. Man walked away from God. And God, in his infinite love, which is difficult for us to understand, still loved us in our rebellious nature, in our beginning times. And he has taken his son, who volunteered for the responsibility of dying on the cross for us. So we might be saved. One day, we're going to stand before God. We're going to be looking back at the time when we stood and said, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. We made that good confession. We made it in faith, and we've lived it in faith, anticipating the time when the family of God will be together completely, with death off the scene and eternity before us. But that can only be when we obey the gospel and live for Christ. If one is here and never obey the gospel, then your life must be changed. You must give your life to God. Be baptized for remission of your sins and begin this walk together in love and harmony and challenged by a world that is not Christian to hold Christ up, that they too may share what we enjoy as brothers and sisters in Christ. If you're not a member, will you obey today as we stand and sing?